With your permission, I'll be the moderator for this panel, and it is my pleasure to introduce you as a keynote speaker for today, Mr. Victor Ponta, the Prime Minister of Romania. Mr. Prime Minister, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Good morning. I'm very honored to be a guest and a keynote speaker to your conference. I would go straight to the one of the main topics of this meeting, which is the energy security. I would say that I completely share as a political leader, but also as a citizen of this part of Europe, that the energy security issue, it's indeed a matter of security, of national security, because in the 21st century, and especially in this region of Europe, the one who controls the energy can influence the political, the military, and the general environment of the area. That's why I would only say, on behalf of the Romanian government, that we have taken important decisions to assure the Romanian independence in terms of energy supply. And I would say from the beginning, and you should know, most of you, that when I say our national independence, I am including also our most important neighbor, which is Republic of Moldova. Everybody knows the traditional, the historic, and the special relationship between Romania and Moldova. The fact that Moldova is, for the time being, almost fully dependent on the Russian energy imports. And when we built up a security energy strategy, we have included not only Romania, but also Moldova, because our goal is to assure that the domestic consumption for both countries could be provided from internal sources. On this regard, we have adopted important legislation changes. The structural reforms in the energy sector they are the most advanced regarding to some other structural reforms. And we have taken important strategic decisions, which is, first of all, to have a competitive, open, transparent energy internal market. And all the important companies, they are right now competitive and transparent. And the former state-owned companies, all of them, they have had successful IPOs. And that means private capital invested in our national producers' companies, but also being listed to the stock exchange. They are very transparent, and they can have a very clear investment project for the future. The second decision has been to encourage, in terms of legislation, in terms of all the governmental support, the researches for the offshore reserves of gas and oil. And right now on the Black Sea offshore, the most important American and European companies, they are developing researches. The first results have been very encouraging, and we are ready to support, as I was mentioning, in terms of legislation, in terms of stability of the royalties, the projects which are conducted by these big companies, Exxon, OMV, Petrom, Repsol. They are all investing in Romania, and we can provide a very stable and predictable legislation frames in order to encourage this kind of investments. When we came to the unconventional resources, which in the whole Europe refers directly to the shale gas. That was a much more difficult decision because on one side there were legitimate and reasonable worries from the environmentalist movements, and we have taken all the measures to assure that all the exploration and then exploitation are going to be done respecting the highest standards for protect the environment. But also, I think there have been some economic interest not to let Romania and the countries in the area to have an alternative resource of gas. I would say that not easy, not without challenges, but we are going to the right direction, and the government which I represent here, but also the parliamentarian majority, they support the idea to have and to encourage conventional and unconventional resources in order to be able in a short term, because in terms of energy, 3-4 years, it's a short term, to be able to cover our domestic consumption and also to provide what would be necessary in a certain share to the Republic of Moldova. Our biggest challenge is the infrastructure, and we are going to finalize this year the gas pipeline which connects Romania to Moldova. We are investing on the electricity infrastructure, but that will remain the biggest challenge because we must have private involvement. We cannot do it only on budgetary resources or European funds. And for this reason, the government has been in contact and negotiation with all the big private investors in order to convince them that these investments are not only strategic, but they are also going to generate profits, because I fully understand that for a private investor, the strategic issue is important, but also to have a profit, not to have losses. And here it's, we have had important and encouraging signs and messages, and we are going towards this direction. Another strategic project, it's a direct infrastructure connection between Romania and Turkey, because right now Romania is having a surplus of energy production, electric energy production, and Turkey is one of our strategic partners on the Black Sea, and we want to be better connected through the infrastructure. That would be the general frame of this area. Why it's so important to continue on this direction? Because we fully understand that after the warm war that we had at the beginning of this year with the annexation of Crimea, with the illegal referendums on the eastern part of Ukraine, it's quite reasonable to think that the Cold War will come with the cold weather in winter. And then having more energy resources, having clear alternatives to the Russian supply of energy, that will make the governments to remain pro-Western, to remain on the idea of a democratic development in Ukraine, Moldova, and all the eastern part of Europe. This is the bridge between pure economic interest of the energy to the political interest, and that's why I think that if we are able to provide a clear picture for the energy resources, we will be able to have a much clearer and successful political direction for the countries in the region. On this respect, I think that Romania is playing every day increasing important role in the region, because we are not only the eastern border of the European Union and NATO, but we are a stable and predictable country. We have our own resources, and now it's up to us and our partners to know how to exploit, how to put all these resources to work for our development, but also to assure the help that some other countries in the region might need in difficult times. On this respect, I think that this clear and courageous energy strategy of of our country, it provides to all our European and American partners a clear message that we are a reliable player here on this region, on the Black Sea, and Romania, it's a very solid partner for NATO and the European Union. That would be in very concrete and pragmatic words how I see and what is the government approach regarding the energy security. I think that the next month we should work even harder to convince. At the political level, I think that the understanding is very clear, and all the political messages that we have received from the United States government, but also from the European Commission, are very encouraging. Now we must work more and to have better results in convincing the private investors to invest more in the exploration, in the infrastructure, and to provide the financial resources that we need to make all these targets being achieved in a faster rhythm than it is today. I think that this kind of debates that you are organizing even today, they provide us, the political leadership, with the practical and the concrete tools that we need in order to achieve these strategic goals. And I would say that in all times of insecurity, like we have 2014 in this part of Europe, there always lies a big opportunity to see what we haven't done in the years that passed. How can we organize ourselves and to cooperate better? And I would conclude saying that from my personal point of view, I think that 2014, it is a decisive year to think about the future and to realize that we need a NATO organization which covers and gives security to more than just its members, but rather to provide a very committed alliance to save democracy, to save our values. But also we need more than just a European economic union. We need a transatlantic economic union. The Romanian government, it's a big supporter of the TTIP, the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership. I think that we need a common space, Europe, United States, of military security, but also of economic cooperation. And we haven't been very fast. We have been lazy in progressing with these two fundamental goals. And now faced with something that we thought 25 years ago that it was completely closed, the danger and aspiration of Russia to become again a sort of former Soviet Union. Now, maybe we realize that we have to move faster in the direction of creating a common European and American space of security, but also economic prosperity. That would be, I think, the main and the fundamental goal that we must achieve. And I think that right now, confronted with the reality, we will be much faster and effective in reaching this. Thank you once again for inviting me. I hope I haven't been too boring in expressing very directly what the government thinks about this. And once again, I wish you all the success. And we will try. Questions? What questions? I do have questions to you, so I don't have answers. But once again, thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister, for your remarks, and also thank you very much for all the support the Harvard Black Sea program enjoyed in the last few years from you and from your government. And as far as I know from the organizers, we have also a few minutes for questions or for remarks. So you have the chance to address a question to the Prime Minister of Romania. So I'll encourage you to do that. The floor is open. Okay, no questions. So, if there are no questions, Mr. Prime Minister, again, thank you very much for coming, for addressing this audience, and for the continued support.
I would add something which refers directly to the topic, and which is going to happen very soon. One of the IPOs that the Romanian government have launched, it's the national electricity company, Electrica. And we have decided that all the financial resources that we will get from the IPO, we are not going to use them directly to the budget. Of course, most of the members of the cabinet would like to have those money, but we will let all the money in the company for investing this money to the infrastructure which connects Romania to Moldova. I think this is one of the political decisions that should be taken as often as we can, because you may imagine that it's going to be something like €500 million from the Minister of Research, which is sitting next to you, to the Minister of Education, Health. Everybody would like to use that money, and they would have legitimate requests. But we have decided as a political decision, which is referring to the subject that you have right now, to let the money in the company in order to be invested for improving the energy infrastructure, which links Romania to Moldova, to Ukraine. And this is the kind of political decisions that not only Romania should take. Maybe the European Union as a whole will understand that this is the time to invest in the energy infrastructure. So, even without your questions, I have given an answer to something that I'm sure the media will ask me about the subject. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you.